All right, module 1, lab 1. So you have 3 activities. First activity is to install Ubuntu 18.04 on your personal machine if you want. And if you prefer not to do that, you can skip activity 1.1 and use the virtual lab in the Canvas page. Second thing that you need to do in this lab is practice basic Linux command and use Vim editor to edit some files. And then working with the Vim editor and write a simple C program using Vim editor. And that at the end, you will be required to submit that source C file for your lab. Okay, so the deliverable for the lab is given in here at the end. So it says follow the lab report guideline in Canvas to format and structure your lab. Okay, this is one thing. Then before I start this lab, I would like to share the course Canvas page and tells you what the lab guideline is and what are the requirements for that. Okay, let's do this. You go to course Canvas page. Let me share this and then go over here. Okay. Go back again here. So to access your lab document, you go to assignments and then you scroll down. You go to lab report submission. You click on lab 1. So in here, you have 3 documents. One is module 1 lab. And the other one is the lab report guideline and lab cover page. So let me open the lab cover page. So since you are working in a group, you need somehow to complete this lab cover page and attach it to your lab report. So this is the lab report cover page. So you're gonna be telling what is the lab number. For example, for this lab is module 1 lab, and the lab topics, for example, for this one is VirtualBox and Linux installation and setting up a basic tools, I guess that's a lab topic. Then your name, your major, and your teammate name and teammate major. So this is the cover page that you need to complete. And it every lab and assignment should include this cover page, except for those assignments that are in form of quizzes, and there are multiple choice and they're automatic, so the system does not let you to attach any assignment cover page. So for the rest of the assignment, that's kind of like coding and you have to submit essay kind of a paper, you need to have this cover page on. So every one of you are required to submit your own version of the lab report. The reason is that if for some reason your friend missed to submit the lab report, then you are not going to be penalized for that mistake. So you have your own version submitted and you're going to be graded based on what you submit. Okay, so this is the cover page. It should be included. Let's go back to the lab again. So the second one is the document that you need to take a look is the lab report guideline. So let's see what is included in this lab report. Okay, that's the general rules like for all labs. So it says that when you turn in your lab report, make sure that to include a screenshot of the output of your lab report or the screenshot of your code. So for this lab, since you're going to be only editing a C source file, and I have explained in the lab that you are not required to run the C code because you are not still there. You only need to submit your source file, and then you need to create a lab report that first it has the cover page on, and then a written description of the lab project in English, meaning that you have 3 activities, right? So your lab report has to include like 3 section, activity 1.1, activity 1.2, and activity 1.3. So if I ask for some specific question in each of these activities, you need to provide answer in a related section. If I haven't asked any question, that's fine. You just summarize, okay, what you did in activity, for example, 1.1, and what you obtained and what were the issues that you were facing and how you tackle those issues on that activity. So you need to describe that. It's not, the lab report is not simply submitting the screenshot of the output or submitting your source code. So you need the report. And normally if there is a program in there and I ask you, okay, you write a program that gets some inputs and calculate some arithmetic operation, you need to list the input signals or input numbers and talk about the processing and also list on the output values. For example, say that if A is 2, B is 3, then the output X, which is A plus B, is 5. And then you compare that result with what you get from your code. Test data values, expected result and actual result. So you're going to be listing, okay, so these are my inputs. This is the expected output according to the mathematical expression. For example, X plus Y, 2 plus 3 is 5, but you're going to be getting actual results from your code when you run it. So when you run your program, you see that, okay, the result is kind of -3. Then actual result, the expected result is 5, but actual result that you get is -3. Therefore, there is discrepancy. So you need to go back and fix your code so that your expected results are equal to your actual results. Then a discussion of what you did to make the program run and any problem you encountered during the lab. So you're going to be talking about the issues and how you handle those issues. Probably in one paragraph, simply explaining those points. Then the screenshot of the output of the program. If I have asked you to run a program. For this lab, as I said, I didn't ask to run a program. I just asked you to edit a simple C source file. Okay, so for each of your lab, make sure that you follow this lab report guideline, and then you are good to go. Any questions so far?
I'm sorry, can you explain section C again?
Section C, list
for a moment.
Yes, sure, no problem. A list of input, processing, and output for each program. So if in some labs, I ask you to write a program that, for example, takes some inputs and do some processing and produce some outputs. You need to list down, for example, those input signal. Assume that you're required to write a program that inputs two integer numbers, do some like power function, and then create some outputs, right? What you do is that you say, okay, you create a table, you're gonna say input signal or input numbers are A and B in your program, because you're gonna be defining variable A, variable B, right? Then you're gonna be saying, okay, the processing. Processing is, for example, y equal to A to the power B. So this is what you do in your program. And the output, your output is Y. So this is the table that tells the reader what your program does. The output, what's the processing, and what's the variable that represents your output. And next one is a data set that you give to those signals. You give some numbers for your two integer, 2, 3, 4, or to try to have some negative numbers, 0 values, corner cases, and then you say, okay, I'm expecting based on this mathematical operation to get this value. And then actual result is what you get from your program. These two basically should match.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you very much.
Any other question? No problem. Any other questions? Okay, perfect. Let me close this one. So what we did so far was to go through lab 1, and tells you what the lab document is, and the lab report guideline. We have gone through that, and you also are aware at this point that you need to attach a cover page for each of your lab and assignment. Now, see if someone is waiting here. Okay, no one. Now let's go take a look at the lab document and see the steps, and then we take it from there. Okay, so activity 1.1, assuming that someone doesn't like to go through this process, VirtualBox and Ubuntu installation, or his or her system is too slow and want to use the virtual lab. Let's first go through that process, and then we come back to take a look at these steps for installation of VirtualBox and Linux 18.04. So let's do that. We want to go back to our canvas now, and we want to go to where we can have access to our virtual lab. So the first page in your Canvas course page, there is a menu called Virtual Lab. You just click on it. And then once you get there, you will see this graph of an internal architecture of a x86 CPU. And what you do is you just scroll down. And
excuse me, Professor?
Yes, no, yes, go ahead.
Our access is denied when you click on the lab, or the VirtualBox, I mean, sorry.
So you have problem accessing this?
Yeah.
When you, yeah, it says the access is actually denied. on Canvas when you try to click on Virtual Lab, the link that you just went through.
Okay, so before be able to go to this, you need to go to this instruction. Have you gone through those and set up your lab? So this
No,
one.
I just followed the pathway that you had said to go to, and it
We can't,
said that the
Okay.
link on Canvas was broken.
like, we can't get to this page that you're currently seeing. We don't have access to that page.
Oh, really? Okay. So basically you can access this page, right?
No.
So you can, okay. Okay. So let me go back to the course Canvas page and tells you if there is other way to access basically this page. Let me scroll back. So we click on modules and then we go here. Module 1 overview. Okay. So that's interesting because so anyone in the class that is able to click on this and go to the proper page? Any of you can do that?
I think you have to publish it.
Let me see.
Here,
Let me
Professor.
see.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Can you try it now? I guess it hasn't been published. Can you guys go ahead and try it now?
Yeah, it went through now.
It works
Okay,
now.
it just worked.
Oh, perfect. Okay, that's good to know. So whenever you get issues like this, please post it on course discussion board or email me immediately. So if something is not published, I can just get it published so you guys can get going. Okay, don't wait up for last minute, because this way you can save time for yourself. All right, thanks for letting me know. So if you didn't say this one, then I just go ahead. Now the day, no one could have accessed that. All right, so once you get in this page, what you need to do first is click in here and get the instruction of how to actually get access to the lab, okay? So you click on this, there's gonna be a Word document. You just save it, and then you open it. It tells you the process of setting up your lab. It's not that difficult. Accessing COMP-162 virtual lab. So this is the first step if you want to use the virtual lab. Basically, you open a Google Chrome, and in there you need to open a new incognito window. So once you do that, and this is the registration link, you copy this and you paste this in the browser, you click on it, and then you will be directed to enter an email address in the Microsoft dialog box. What you do is that you take your MyCI email address, this one, and you take off MyCI from your email address and then hit enter. So after you've done that, the system is going to ask you for a password. Then you enter your credential, the password for your MyCI, and then you hit enter. And then the system is going to register you automatically, but you need to copy and paste the link one more time to access the lab. So once you do that, you are going to be directed to here, to this page, which is basically your virtual lab environment. And in there, the first thing you need to do is to set up a password for your virtual machine. Once you click on that, you click on reset password, and then you give a password for a virtual machine, and you hit enter. So this process takes about like 5 minutes to 1 hour, depending on your internet speed and the traffic that Microsoft Azure Cloud has. It's gonna take between 5 minutes to 1 hour. So once your password is set up, then you will be able to access the virtual lab. Since I've done this before, I want to go to virtual lab right now, right away, and tell you what to do after you have set up your virtual machine, the password and all this. Okay, so as you can see here, this is Azure Lab Services, COMP-162, and here is the list of users. So I have registered all of your names in the system, your email address, so system automatically recognize your request because your email address are added in here. So the only person that have registered so far is Daniel Tar. He has registered and he has access to the lab now. Perfect. So here is that. So you guys can see your friend's name over here. It's only me that can see that as an administrator for this virtual lab. Okay, next thing you need to do once you set up your password is to get the SSH link. So the system going to automatically produce the SSH link for you. So you say copy and done. So what you do next? If your machine is Windows, you go to your command line terminal. For me, is the machine is Windows, and basically I use PowerShell to access my virtual machine. Let me close this a bit down. See. All right. Okay. Going up. We are here. Okay, so once you get that SSH link, you come here and simply what you do is just copy and paste it. I lost the link. So connect here via SSH, copy and done. Go back to the Linux terminal. This tells you that you're sure we want to connect. You say yes, and then it asks for the password that you have set. You enter the password. Okay, now I am in the system. So dolphin@ml. So if you take a look at my previous prompt, it was the Windows prompt that I have. PSC user data reza.abdoli. Now I did the SSH and get into different prompting here. So if I say which GCC, so you can see that GCC has been installed for you. And if you say NASM, you can see that NASM also has been installed for you. So these are the things that you need to have in your machine when you want to compile a NASM or C source code. Now, let's see what I have in this file. So I have a file .c called test. I don't know what is in there. I just want to see the content. It's a simple hello world file that I have here. So let me again clear this. So
Excuse
as
me,
you can see,
Professor?
the test season. Yes.
So I did everything to get to the lab, and when I paste the link into the search bar, it says registering, but it still like has me locked out. Like after like a little circle that says registering, and then after that it still says I'm like locked out of.
Okay, you paste again your registration link, and hit enter. Okay, so once you do that, you should be able to get into the virtual lab environment. Okay, so while I'm explaining this, you can try that. So I said, okay, we have a test C on this machine. So we want to see what is inside. So this is what is inside. I use the cat command to see the content of the file, but you can use the Vim editor to see the content of your file. So this is the Vim editor. So now you can see that I have a simple C file, a main function, and a simple printf, which it says printf hello world should be hello world. But since I choose a bad background, probably it seems empty in here. That's the reason I like my own personal Linux, because of the coloring scheme. Okay, let's run it. So how do you run a C file in a Linux environment? You use the GCC compiler. So just simply type gcc test.c and then hit enter. So once you do that, then it produces the binary file for you. The name is, the default name is a.out. So to run that, you say /a out, and then you get the output of your C file. In case you're interested to give a different name to your binary file, you can define it over here. So using -o option. -o means that I want the output file with the name, what should be the name? Hello, for example. Now, when I run this one, the binary file that is produced for me is hello. So I can run hello and get my output. So that's pretty much it. But something to remember is that this is a virtual machine. Depending on the location of the server, it could be anywhere in the world, could be in the US, or could be any other data center server that Microsoft has. Therefore, if you want to access your file, you need to use the secure copy command. So for example, for this lab, you might have like several files that you need to copy to your virtual server that's not in your computer. This environment, basically, the physical computer is not at my home. So it is somewhere in the world. So when I want to access this file, I cannot simply drag the file from here and put it on my machine so that I can upload it to Canvas. To do that, I need to copy this file, for example, test.c, on my local machine, and then access it from my local machine and upload it to the server, to course Canvas page if I want to do that. Okay, let's see if we have any questions so far.
Yeah, Professor, I'm still having issues with the registering for the lab. Like I got to the point where I'm like re-putting the register link, and it goes through like you're registering, but then it says you're denied.
Okay, Brandon, let me check your name. Probably So have you been added to the system lately, or you've been there for
I've been here since
before?
the beginning.
Okay, so let me check your name. So your first name is Brandon. See if I can search that. Brandon, I see your name is in here, and therefore you should be able to access this
Might
stuff.
be because the
So when you
email
copy
that you have
that,
When I'm doing the registering, I'm following the instructions. Mine doesn't have the my CI because you said to remove it, but that has the my CI.
no, you have to remove my CI from it. My CI dot, right? Then your email address should be your first name dot last name 441 at csuci.edu.
Yeah, that's what I'm
right?
doing.
Okay, so are you in Neo Incognito? Is kind of you are using the Google Chrome, right?
Yes.
Okay, so once you use that, did you open a new browser Incognito to register?
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you what this is. Okay, so once in your Google Chrome, right, you click on this window, okay, and then a new browser going to be open. And what you do, you just click this, put this link in that browser, you click on it, you take off my CI and hit enter. So once you do that, it should prompt you to enter your password. Does it do that?
Yes.
Okay, so you enter your password, right? So once you enter your password, then you start registering, right? So then registration is getting complete, right?
So when I go, I'm in the Azure Lab services, but when I do repost the link to register for the lab class, it just says registering for your lab. You do not have permission to access this lab.
Okay, so can you get access to this?
No, it's saying that I do not have access for that.
I got the same thing.
Okay. So Emmanuel got the same thing. Okay.
Is it the way you registered our emails? Because it has my CI on it, on the page you showed us?
It's you guys should take out your CI, and let me show you something in here. You see, Daniel is a classmate here, and my CI is attached to his email address. So Daniel has been able to actually register. And we also have this person registered. And okay, so let me go back to the instruction and open this little video that made by IT. Probably because I don't have your email address to go to the process. So my email address doesn't have my CI. So I can't reproduce your issue. But IT reproduced the issue. So basically you get the, can you guys see this video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what IT said. So you copy the link, so you're gonna be prompted to the Microsoft Azure, right? And then you're gonna put your credential in there. You see that my CI is not there. And then it asks for your username, your password. Say stay signed in, you say yes. It's loading. You probably get this one, right? This page. You can't find anything that belongs to you. You once again copy and paste the link on the browser it says registering, and now you should be having access to the system. Okay, so this is the video. So let me go through the process of copying file and exchanging file between the machines and the virtual server. Then we go back to your issue and see if anyone in the class have been able to connect. If not, I'm gonna ask one of you guys to share your screen to the class, and we to go together through this process to resolve this issue. So meanwhile, if anybody else in the class can please try this process, it would be great. Okay. So where we were at this point, we produce our binary file. We said that, okay, now we can run hello simply by having ./hello, and then you get the hello world here. So the other things that is very important is to exchange files between your machine and your host machine and your virtual machine. So how we can do that, I explained this one in the virtual lab instruction. So basically in here, the second activity in there is setting up your password and running your machine, then transfer file between your host computer and your virtual lab machine. So after you set up your password, then so first thing, you require probably to copy some file from your local machine to your virtual Linux server. So to do that, this is the command. It says source copy, secure copy, port number, and the path to your local file, and then your virtual machine path, which is this one, and the path to your computer, to your server in the virtual machine. Let me see, get some questions. I still can access the virtual lab on the class page. That's interesting. All right.
I could share my screen because I'm like at that point where I had to re-enter, and it has the same problem that everyone else has.
Okay, so let me stop sharing. Okay, then one of you let me, before doing that, do something else in here for other section. So let me go back in here. Okay, I want to ask Ian. I hope that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Ian Ku. Can you try to see whether you can access to this virtual lab in course canvas page? And Shreydin Ruef, can you guys try that? So you have access, perfect. That's great. Okay, guys, now let me give you permission to be able to share. Who's going to share his or her screen?
I can do it, Dominic.
Okay, Dominic, you go ahead and do that, and I see what the issue is. And if probably it's from the virtual lab, I should contact IT to resolve the issue. Okay, register in your lab. Okay. So,
Yeah,
can
I go up here.
can you refresh? You go up and then you click the link. So registering for lab.
I get the same issue.
Okay. Okay. So can you open another page?
Like another incognito,
Yeah.
like that.
Yes, yes. Okay, one question I have, Dominic. So for the first time that you did this, did the system ask you for your credential?
Yeah,
For your,
yeah, asked me for my credential. I took the My CI off and everything. It's just when I get here to re-enter the link in the top, that's what it doesn't register me all the way.
okay, so perfect. Wait here. Let me check something in the lab to see if there is some permission that is not active or something. Let me stay in here. Okay. Okay. So Dominic, still you're here? Okay, Dominic, do something else. Can you close this Google Chrome completely again and open Google Chrome one more time? This time we are going to try with your MyCI.
Okay, oh yeah, one second. Let me
No
just
problem.
share real quick. So, do you want me to do an incognito tab for it again?
Right now, let's this time not to do it. Let's this time not to do it. And just please click the link again on the browser.
Oops.
On the browser.
Yeah.
Okay, enter your email address. Okay, perfect. Then next. Okay.
Yeah, it's still the same thing.
Okay. Again, go at the top of the browser. Click enter again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. So basically, Dominic, you should be registered here. Let me refresh my page to see if you are registered. I want to see if the registration has gone through. And then for some other reason, you are not be able to register. I see that Yusuf Adam has registered. Yusuf, are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yusuf, have you been able to access the lab? I see that your name is in here and you registered.
Yeah, I just registered. I'm on the step where it's asking to where I'm supposed to click on SSH. It's not giving me the information. It just says show. It just says show RDH, RDP. I mean.
Okay. So there is a blue icon with the desktop icon, right? Click on that, and it says set password. You need to set a password before that. So Yusuf, tell us, did you use the MyCI email address, or you just take off the MyCI and register? How did you do the process?
I used the mycsuci.edu.
So you have the MyCI in that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Dominic, let's try that. Let's close again and one more time. We go through that, but this time we're going to be registering using MyCI.
Ready?
Okay. I guess you need to close down the Google Chrome this time and once again do the process.
It just kind of takes me back there. Should I do like an incognito?
Let's do that this time. Yeah, let's do that. So probably IT has changed the setting. So this was the instruction previously they gave us. They gave us for registration. They said that MyCI should not be there. Probably they have added something at their end to remedy this issue. Okay, perfect. But it says that the username may be incorrect. Is your username correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah it is.
Yusuf, when you entered your email, you have added MyCI, you said?
Yeah, I added the myci.csuci.edu.
That's interesting. So why works for some people and not for the other one?
Should I go back to like the normal one, but like log out once I get there? Because it's automatically has me signed in, but I can, yeah.
Okay, let's do that. That's interesting. Why is this happening? Okay. Close all browser, okay. So now just copy the link and yeah, just hit the link, see if this time it gets through. No, same account. Okay, just enter this account. Yeah.
Should I do this one?
Yeah.
But I was just thinking because it's gonna sign me back in.
Okay, this time.
Because it's gonna be this email again.
Okay, that's fine. Let's see this. Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Professor, on your end, are you able to change the email that we're registered with to CSUCI, like removing the MyCI?
The problem is that what IT asks us is that because that your email without MyCI is not exist, and because your MyCI email is kind of associated with Google, then they say that okay, you need me as instructor need to add MyCI. See that Daniel has MyCI? Let me show you again. So Dominic, you tried different things here to see if you can get there. So I want to share this with the rest of the class to see what this complication is, how, what's the problem that we are having here. Portion of the screen. Okay, guys, you see that in here? Daniel has my CI email in here. So the issue is not this one. And also Yusuf Adam has my CI associated with his email address. Okay.
Could it be the browser?
And all of you,
Professor?
the browser version that I have, any Google Chrome browser version should be fine.
Well, I noticed that Vita and some other people, when you scroll down the list, only have CSUCI.
She's a professor, so she doesn't have my CI. It's the instructor, they don't have my CI, and student, they have my CI. So the email that you have in here should be the real email address. But one thing that you enter when you want to get into the system, because that's Microsoft and it's not Google, IT ask you guys to remove my CI part. Otherwise, they don't recognize your email. That's a glitch that they have created, and it's very confusing for us. Okay. Let's see how we can basically resolve this issue. Daniel, are you there? So Alexander said he tried it again and it worked. Alexander, are you there?
Yes, I am.
So Alexander, you had this similar issue, right? And then what happened that it gets into the system?
I just logged back out and then went back in and retyped it and then it worked. I don't know why.
So guys, let's assume that the registration process can take about like some time. And then you again copy that link and put it in browser. And it should work because there is nothing at my end in terms of the permission level that I should change so you guys can access. So you guys have the same permission level, all of you, and you should be able to access. In case until the end of this class, you can't have access to the virtual lab, then let me know. So we're gonna see what the issue is. But as you can see here, there is nothing special. The process is exactly the same and it should work. That's, you know, the cloud and the virtual cloud. And this is the way that, you know, Azure work, unfortunately, they might have some technical glitch in their system. Hopefully it works, but in case you guys want to continue working with virtual lab and it doesn't work, then we can get together and solve your issue one by one. Okay, so we have a question from Hui. He said that if you have an Ubuntu dual boot with Windows machine, is that okay? The answer is yes, it's okay. If the version of your Ubuntu is 18.04, that's perfectly fine. So Dominic, keep try that and let me know if it works, okay? All right. Okay, where we were at the point where we wanted to copy something from the from our machine to the virtual machine, right? So now this is my virtual machine, and I want to open another PowerShell, which is kind of point to my local machine in here. So as you can see here, this is my local machine, right? So I list whatever I have in here. So these are the files that I'm having. So for example, I want to copy something from here and then put it in my virtual server, right? So let's see what I can find in here. Too much of them. All right. Okay, so I want to take one of these files, for example, and then put it on my virtual machine on the server. So I want to try this zoom.link and put it in there. So what I need to do, so the instruction is given in here. So this is what you need to copy. So that's the secure copy command. This is the port number, which you guys need to be replacing that with your own port number. And this is the link which also you guys need to take your own link from the SSH command. Okay, what this is, what am I talking about in here? How you can get those. So once you want to connect to your machine, once you click on your SSH, you guys see here. So this is the port number. For you, this port number might be different. And this is your SSH connection command, which you need to replace it with SCP, the secure copy command. And this is where you access the machine. So this is the address for your virtual machine. But in your virtual machine, you have different directories, right? Then you have to type the directory of your choosing to where you want to copy the file. So as you can see here, I have my port number here and the address to my machine in here. But when you go to my secure copy command, you see that the port is in here and there is the local path to my file. And here's the address of the virtual machine. And here, colon-home dolphin is where I want to copy my file to. So I take this one, I simply just copy that, and I come to my PowerShell in here. So when I come in here, I need to come over my, so I don't go into the virtual machine to do the copy. I go to my local machine and copy the secret copy command in here. But what I need to do in here is to choose the file that I would like to copy and put it in my local, to my remote server. So what is that file? So that file is Zoom link. So I want to put this file into my virtual server. So as you can see here, the way that I address my file in Windows machine is different. You see that it's /zoom.link. So I need to put that in quotation in order to work. So if you don't put it, then the system won't recognize that. And the way that you address the directory for your Linux machine is different. So it is /home/dolphin. So if I see here, so guys, you guys can see here, I want to put the file in this directory. So now if I click enter, then we should be able to copy that. It says I could not resolve this hostname. So what I need to do is probably from my document, I prepared this document a long time ago. So my SSH command was somehow different from the time that I prepared the document. So just bear with me. I have to use my new SSH address for my virtual machine. One thing else that I'm suspecting, this P has to be capital letter. Okay, no, now since it doesn't recognize that computer, right? So I have to use my updated version of the address, which is this one. So I take this part and I copy it. I put it in here and paste it over here, but I need to change. This P has to be capital P, and this is the secure copy command, SCP. And what I need to do, so I said what the port number is, and then what my file is going to be zoom.link. So I want to simply copy this. So where I want to copy that, I want to copy that to my virtual machine. And where in the virtual machine? So I said colon home and then dolphin. Okay, now we should be good to go. Now the system accepts that. Now it asks me to enter the password. So I'm using the password, this password. Now, as you can see in here, the file has been copied 100%. And to my virtual machine. So if I check my virtual machine on the server, so list, as you can see, zoom.link is there. So what if I want to copy a file from my remote server to my local machine? How about that? How can I do that? So you just need to change the directory order. So so whatever comes first is your source directory. Therefore, you need to change these to location and give the name for your file. So let's go back to the virtual machine, to my local host. So again, I do not use the virtual remote server for this command. SCP has to be always be on your host machine. So I want to do that, but this time I want to do the reverse thing. So it means that I want to copy something from my virtual machine to my local machine. So how we can do that? So I said dolphin. Now this time I want to copy test.c from that place and put it on here. So that means current directory. If I copy that, so it's asked for the password. So I enter my password. And now, as you can see here, I have the test.c in my desktop right now. So if you guys want to see that, you can. Okay. So we want to see if we have any C file in our directory. So as you can see, we have our C file in here. Okay, so this is when you want to copy and paste files, right? So what if you want to copy a directory? So what's the difference? So again, you use the same command, but this time you need to add option -R. -R tells the secure copy command that the things that we are going to copy is a directory. As simple as. So this time you have path to your folder on your Windows machine, and then you give it a location, the directory name on your virtual server as well. Okay, let's see. We have some question in the chat. Mm, so Cody asked a question. He said that he should take a picture of this since there's no step-by-step right now. Take a picture. So this document has been provided to you in course Canvas page. And the recording is going to be available on the course Canvas page as well. Cody, are we there?
Yes, I am.
So what is your question exactly?
Well, whenever you were trying to get your password and the Zoom link in your code, I just didn't know if, like, you know, we had to do that step by step to get those to display on our code. And I just didn't know if, because, like, is there a step by step process on here to show us how to get to that point?
You are talking about the password for which one?
What you just had displayed to try and get the link right there.
Oh, okay. In your virtual machine, right?
Yes.
Okay. So so your question is how to get that, right?
Yeah, because you had to do like a bunch of different codes, I guess you can say, to try and get to that point. And I just didn't know if we would be able to do that on our own without looking at it. But since we have the recording, I believe it should be fine.
Yeah, the recording going to be uploaded in Canvas, but it's going to be a long recording.
Yeah.
So you guys can just, you know, use your mouse and move around to go to the proper point. Yeah. Okay. I think it's being recorded. Yes. So that answers that. Now I want to ask a question from Alexandra. Alexandra, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So I have another message from you saying that it did not work. So can you tell me?
I must have logged into the first one without the my CI again when I was trying to log out of the other one, and I thought it worked, but it didn't, because then I realized that it wasn't showing the virtual lab. So then I went back and looked, and it wasn't my CI one.
Okay. Okay, so let me contact IT, see what the issue is, if they can help us. Microsoft. Okay. Okay, let's do something else. Right now, I've completed the you know, the process for copying file between the virtual labs and virtual server and your host computer. Let me go over the process for installing the virtual box on your system in case you want to use your personal computer. And once I explain that and you guys start doing the process, I'm gonna take the IT personnel and bring it here in our Zoom. and ask him what the issue is with the cloud. So let's do that, not wait for him for now, and then come back to this virtual lab login issues later, okay? So Microsoft team is loading. Okay, we're done with this. The recording will be available. So we're gonna get the IT guys in here to solve the cloud issue. Okay, we go back to the document for the lab now. So the first step is to install VirtualBox and Ubuntu 18.04. Let's admit this guy. Perfect. So during this summer, I've spent a lot of time with Microsoft team from the CS2CI to come up with the instruction how to connect to this virtual cloud. And I was the first instructor using the Microsoft Azure as a virtual cloud. So I'm the first one. If these issues come up, it's because it hasn't been tried before at the university. Okay. So the first option that you guys have is to install VirtualBox on your machine and then Ubuntu 18.04. So to do that, there are some instructions in here telling you go to the VirtualBox website and then download the software and install the software. It's easy, you just can open a browser. Let me do this if I can in here. Okay. So what you do is you just type VirtualBox download, and then you just click the link to VirtualBox. So you're gonna be directed over here. Then VirtualBox version 6.112 is the latest one. Depending on your host machine operating system, you have to choose one of these. If your current machine is Windows, you click on Windows link. If it is Mac, you click on this OS. And if it is Linux, you can click on this. But if it was Linux, then you don't need to do this for this class. So we are assuming that your system either is Windows or it's basically a Mac. So you click on that, you get the link, you basically save it. So right now, because I have the VirtualBox, I'm not gonna go through this process. You just save it on your desktop or on your download folder, and then you click on it. So once you click on it, you just choose the default options that the software will be giving you. So this is the way to install that. It's very easy and straightforward. Okay, so once you've done that, what else you need to do? So let's go back to the document. So this instruction step by step tells you how you download an ISO file from the internet for your Ubuntu. And you go to Ubuntu website. Let's try that. Go to Ubuntu. Just simply type Ubuntu download and see what option you will going to get. So if you come over here, it says Ubuntu version 20.04. So this is not the version that we want, okay? We want a different version. So if we go here, from Windows. Ubuntu flavor. So this is a guide for your Ubuntu, but so first thing we want to know is just to find the correct version. Again, we go back in here and see where we can find the older version. 18.04, older, from an older version. Okay. So we do not want this version. So one thing you can do is, I've done this thing a long time ago, and the previous version should be in download folder. Load our simple guide. Okay, let's do something different. This time we're gonna do Google is our friend to do this automatically for us. Okay, so here is Ubuntu 18.04. So you can come over here and select your version. So desktop image for 16.4-bit AMD64. So you click on this, and then you put it somewhere like your desktop, and then you put it there. For me, it's gonna take like 15 minutes to download. And after you download that, you come to your virtual box. In here, and you start the installation. So in here you say Ubuntu 18.04, and then you say next. Still, I don't have my source file that I need to tell the system. You choose your memory that you require. So choose about like 4096 at least, 4 GB of RAM, and then click next. Create a virtual hard disk now. You say yes. You create a virtual hard disk. Choose the VDI version, And then this option is dynamically allocated. And then this is gonna be your hard capacity. At least you need to have about 40 gigabyte. Okay, so at least 40 gigabyte. For me, probably I choose 64. And then the default location is fine. You just say create. It's gonna be creating for you Ubuntu 18.04. And then at this point, it says a start. But what you need to do is to give the image file that you installed from the Ubuntu website. So it's a normal start. But right now it doesn't have the disk image because we haven't downloaded yet. It is empty. So once we downloaded that, right? So this, you will be browsed to the location that you have downloaded your ISO file. So for me, it hasn't been done yet. So you have like 8 more minutes for the download to be completed. So it's hit cancel because I don't have the file right now. I close this one. But for you, this is a process. Then it's gonna ask you several other questions. For example, choosing the language of your choice and some other basic questions. So once you answer that, then you would be able to have your Linux on your system and give it a username and password, and it is ready to go. Okay, for now, I want to power off the machine because there is no source file for it yet. Okay, this is one way to do it. There's another way that I would like to tell you guys about. Is a simpler version. So once you install your virtual box, so this is one way to do it. Follow this instructions, a similar instruction that I just presented. So there is second way. So first way, you download the .iso file. So .iso file is an image of your Linux that you have. There is a setup process for that. It's going to take a half an hour to install that. It's asking several questions regarding the required amount of the RAM, required amount of the hard disk for the storage, language of your choice, and some other question. So the second way is to get the basically pre-installed version of the Ubuntu for you. This version is pre-installed. What it means is that once you install your virtual box, you simply browse to this location. You simply click on it firstly to download it. File can be previewed, that's okay. If you don't want to preview the file, you just hit download. This file also is 3.08 gigabyte. I have too many things opening here. Direct download. So I put it in my desktop. Okay, so once I've downloaded that, I go back to my virtual box. I go back to my virtual box and go to tools, And this time I don't click on new. This time, since this is a pre-installed disk image, I click on import. So I click on import and I go to the OVA file that I just downloaded. This is a pre-installed version that I just downloaded. I go to the location of the file. See this here. So this is the OVA file that I'm talking about. Then you just click open. Okay. Still is trying to open the file in VirtualBox. Since there are several software that are running on my machine at this point, so we have the download going on to download. Let me stop this one. Cancel it. And I have the other download going on. It's taking a bit of time. I hope it's not going to freeze. So the second strategy is easier than the first one. Have you guys been able to download VirtualBox at your end?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So start downloading the .ova file. This is the easier way to install Linux on your system. For me, I guess my computer is going to the freeze state. So Ivan has asked question. Yes, yeah, the meeting was recorded and uploaded into the course Canvas page. You can take a look at that. Okay, guys. What do we do here? So, going to Task Manager. And then see which one was, it's not responding. Okay. Go to okay, now we are at VirtualBox. So again, we try import. This time, I hope that we are not freezed again. You go to CSCCI here, 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 and this file. For me, for some reason, I see the blue icon is turning. It means that because I'm taking this from Dropbox, is not located on my local machine. So it's taking it from this from the cloud. That's the reason it takes time to download. It's similar to normal download, but the process hasn't been shown here. Okay, so once you choose that, then you are almost done. Then you click Start, and your system is ready to go. That's the step, only step it has. And then you need a password for it. The password for this disk is COMP-162. So you put the password, and then you come here in your virtual box and hit enter. Now I cancel that because it's not yet, it hasn't been downloaded. So you come here and then you hit the start. So once it's ready, you hit the start, and then you are ready to go. Okay. Then comes the next activity. For the next activity, so what you need to do is to practice basic Linux command. So how we'll do that? Okay. So why I don't should complete this activity as soon as possible. Most of okay. Okay. So for your Linux tutorial, then you need to go back to course Canvas page. There's a document in there. We go back to the lab. Let me just put that document directly in here so that you guys can access to it in this location. Let me see if I can find it here. Linux system call, Linux cheat sheet. Should be some name. Okay. Right. This is easier for me to just. Mm. Okay. So I have that document on the Linux, on the module page. Now I brought that document back into the lab. So if you guys click on this document, you can have access to the Linux command instruction and the step-by-step process. So you can put it on your desktop and just follow the instruction from this document. So one thing else you can do, you can go to this website and see, and start from here, tutorial 1, tutorial 2, tutorial 3, tutorial 4, and 5. So you can, if you are familiar with Linux, that's perfect, but if you are not, you need to go to this tutorial to learn how to list the file using ls, how to copy the file, browse into different directories, and some wildcard, and so on. So go through that. So this is the second step that you need to do in this lab. Please, you guys are required to do that because you need this once you are working with your program. You need to get comfortable with Linux. And then working with Vim editor. So there is a brief video how to use the Vim editor. And basically, so when you want to use Vim, so you type Vim, and then your file will file dot, for example, C. So then the file is going to be open, and then you want to start writing in this file, right? So to do that, you click on I, so then you go to insert mode. You see that this insert in here? So this document has different mode. There is insert mode when you can write in it, and there is a command mode when you can move around inside of the document. So if you want to write something in it, you just click insert, I, that you go to insert mode, and you start writing your code. So for this program, you only need to write a simple C program, and then so you don't need to, for example, run the program. So define some integers, very simple program, and integer C, for example. So I ask you to get this integer from the input keyboard and add them together. But if you are still rusty on C, you can exactly write this program and using the Vim. This is, see that Windows has a very bad choice of the color, background color. So you say C, then you will close this one, enter, and then your program is finished. So once you're done editing your program, right, then you need to save it. To save it, you say you have to go into the command mode. To go into the command mode, you click escape, and you put a semicolon. You see that semicolon at the end of this document? Semicolon, and once you put semicolon, you say W. W means write, Q means quit, and this exclamation sign to overwrite what is in this file, kind of force the file. If file is write protected, this way you can write in it. So once you do that, then you're done editing the file. This is the file that you probably need to upload for this lab. So as you can see here, this is what we write, okay? And so this quotation should be in here. The program be as simple as this. If it doesn't run, that doesn't matter. So the objective of this lab is to get you going with Linux. For example, navigate in Linux, use ls command to see what you have in your current directory, use cd command to change directory, use pwd command to know where you are, and some of these simple Linux commands, and using the Vim editor to edit a simple file. And that's pretty much it. So there are 3 activities: installation of VirtualBox and Linux if you want to use your personal machine, and then practicing with Linux and editing your C file and submitting your C file. So now that we have gone through the process, so these are some instructions for the Vim. The main instruction is a short video telling you how to use the Vim editor. And then you come to the deliverable. Deliverable gonna be lab1.c and the lab report. So there are 2 things that you need to do, okay? For lab1.c, you write a simple program, 2 integers, and then you add them up, and then you kind of write your lab report. You summarize your activity in the lab report, the issues that you got, and you submit your lab report along with your source file that you have edited using the Vim editor. That's pretty much it. Now I am at the point to contact the Microsoft team at CI to see what the issue is and why you guys cannot get in to your virtual lab. Is there any question you guys would like to ask?
If we're not, or if we're running Linux locally, we don't need the virtual machine, correct?
Exactly correct. So let me ask this question. So what Linux are you running right now, Owen?
I had installed 18.04 and Ubuntu 18.04 on my desktop at home. I was planning on running that.
That's perfect. That's
okay.
Perfect. You don't need the. Is it a dual boot installation, or you use virtual?
Yeah, dual boot, separate boot.
Okay, that's perfect. We only need a Linux 18.04. How you get there is not important. The only thing that you need is Ubuntu 18.04. That's it. Okay, perfect. And no problem. Anybody else have any question? Let me see if we have someone waiting here. Okay. All right, we have one other question in here, and Yvonne asked how to attach the ISO to my Linux VirtualBox. So let's see if my ISO is downloaded. If it's downloaded, we can go through that process together. What was the file name here? Okay, yes, must be it. So Yvonne, are you there?
Yep.
So Ivan, you know that you have 2 options, right? One, you can install the .iso, and the other option is to use the .ova file. For the .ova file, the second link that I provided in the lab, it is much easier. So you just import it and click start. So everything is installed for you. Do you want to still go to the .iso process, or you want to use the .ova file?
I've already got the ISO downloaded, so I'm trying to make that work instead of going somewhere else and doing another thing.
Okay, so let's do this. Okay, do you remember what we did to get in here? So we click new, right? And then we give the. Oh, okay, so let's. All right, so portion, that's fine. Okay, so we are here. So my question is that do you remember how we get in here?
Yeah, you just make a new machine and set it to Linux and VirtualBox or.
Okay, exactly. Right. So now we are at this point, we can go in here in the storage, click on the storage and browse into the storage location, right? So if we say, right now it says empty, we say add. So once we said add, then we are going to give the location of the ISO file that we have downloaded. We go in here. So Ubuntu 18.04, we open it. And then, okay, now it's here. And we choose that. So now it is not empty, it has the ISO file in here, right? That's perfect, so we say okay. Then we click on start.
All right, cool, thank you. That I did
No
something
problem.
similar. I still had access to it, but it errored out. I'm assuming that's something to do with my VirtualBox settings rather than actually doing it wrong. So I was remaking my machine, and as soon as it's done, I will try again.
Okay. So once you get in here, at this point, if you click on the start, then it's going to ask you the location of the disk, and you simply can give the location of the disk. The other way is to just go to the storage and click your ISO file. And then after this, it's going to ask you several questions, for example, the language of your choice, as well as the time, your local time, and so on. So installation hasn't been completed yet. So what I want to do, I want to resize this. Okay, a bit bigger. Install Ubuntu. Okay, then you choose English, then click continue. Normal installation. I don't want to download the updates. Oh, let's download the updates. Click continue. Then here it asks you erase disk and install Ubuntu. Don't afraid of this one. It's not going to erase your hard disk, okay? Just choose that and say install now. When you're using the VirtualBox, it's not going to erase your the content of your hard disk for your Windows operating system or your Mac operating system. So you're at Los Angeles area, so you click on that. You choose a name. For me, is Reza. So it gives the Reza VirtualBox name. And then here it's asks you for the password. I choose COMP-162 for this class. I COMP-162. So that the .ova file also have COMP-162 password for me. So if you guys use the .ova file, just know that the password to enter to the system is COMP-162. So now it's copying the files and going through the process. Once finished, you will be prompted to enter your username and your password. So I guess for my username was Reza and my password was COMP-162. So you remember this information when you are installing your virtual machine, your Linux on the virtual machine. Okay, so you guys can try this. So meanwhile, I'm trying to contact Microsoft Teams to see why you guys are not able to connect. I hope that I can get the IT person online in this Zoom session so that one of you can share your issue so that he can see what's going on, because I cannot reproduce your problem because I don't have my CI email address. If I can get him to this session, that would be perfect.
In the meantime, I figured out the error. I didn't figure it out yet, but it's about hardware virtualization. It says it's enabled and it shouldn't be, but I can't find the button.
Oh, okay. I guess that has something to do with your the BIOS of your system. So you have to go to your system, the BIOS setting, and find the virtualization and enable that in the BIOS. So this is one of the reasons that I have chosen to have the virtual lab installed for this class, because some system does not let you to enable the virtualization. For some reason, it's locked from the administrator if you, for example, get the machine from somebody else, and if you buy the system like the used one. But if you haven't got that, and if your system lets you to enable virtualization, after you enable it, then you should be okay.
It's the other way around, actually. It says it is enabled in the acceleration section of the system page, but it's not supported by the host system.
Oh, so your system, the host system is your machine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's not supported by your machine. What's the version of the machine that you're having?
The version?
Yeah, what's the brand and what's the version of it?
I built it myself. So I guess none of the above.
Oh. Okay. All right. So since you have built that yourself, I don't know how to do that. It has something to do with your BIOS. If it is enabled in your BIOS and you cannot enable, if it is enabled and it's not, it says that it's not exists in the host machine, there has to be something related to the hardware.
Okay. Okay, I see. So it's letting me turn it off, but it's not letting me save. So I'm in system acceleration. I can turn it to none, but I can't save it. Like when I go out and back in, it doesn't change, and I don't see a save.
Probably there are some like some permission process somewhere in your system that has to be enabled first, and then you can change the setting. You're probably going to be that issue. But in case, after all, if you can't use that, if your hardware doesn't let you to do that, hopefully you can use the virtual lab server to do your work for this class.
I'll look into some stuff.
Okay.